I like him. I like his sensibilities.
Morgan Freeman is no doubt a legend in Hollywood. So when he names his favorite actors, these actors are not just actors to him. They have influenced and hooked him in incredible ways. Stick to the very end of this video to get all the gist about these 10 actors who Freeman considers his favorites. Interestingly, he shared that he was starstruck the day he first met the actor on number 9 Inches person. Starting with number 1, Sidney Poitier.
There is Sidney and saying, no, you can do it.
Freeman has always been a huge fan of Poitier. At a time when black actors were hardly visible on screen, Poitier broke through barriers and became a figure who showed Freeman and countless others what was possible. According to Freeman, seeing Poitier was the realization that someone who looked like him could command respect, tell meaningful stories, and stand as a leading man in Hollywood. Freeman recalled being a young man with dreams, but very few role models who reflected him in the world of cinema. Hollywood in the 1950s and 60s offered few opportunities for African Americans beyond stereotypical or minor roles. Then Sidney Poitier appeared, not just as a supporting character, but as a dignified lead actor. His presence was magnetic. His performances layered with strength, intelligence, and quiet defiance.
Sidney Poitier was my beacon. He was my guiding star as a kid, as a young man trying to...
Watching Poitier, Freeman found a mirror of possibility, proof that a black man could rise above the limitations society tried to impose. One of the defining things Freeman admired about Poitier was the grace with which he carried himself on and off screen. Films like Lilies of the Field, A Raisin in the Sun, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner showcased Poitier's ability to bring humanity and depth to roles that challenged audiences to think differently about race and equality. To Freeman, these weren't just films, they were statements. They demonstrated that storytelling could be a form of activism and that actors could shift perceptions simply by being excellent. Freeman also said that Poitier became more than a favorite actor. He became a blueprint. At a time when the world gave black men every reason to believe their dreams were too large, Poitier's success sent the opposite message. Yes, you can. Freeman said that seeing Poitier achieve what he did was the spark that motivated him to keep pursuing acting, even when the odds seemed stacked against him. Without Poitier's courage, Freeman said, his own journey and the journeys of many others might never have been possible. Number 2, Jack Klugman.
Gee whiz, my first movie, believe it or not, was in 1969 with Jack Klugman in a movie.
In an interview with Larry King, Freeman shared that Klugman was one of his favorite actors. Their relationship went back to 1969, when Freeman acted in his very first movie alongside Klugman. At that stage of his career, Freeman was still exploring the film world, uncertain of where he stood among seasoned performers. Then Klugman embraced him warmly, both as an actor and as a person. Freeman explained that Klugman didn't treat him like a newcomer struggling to prove himself. Instead, Klugman recognized his talent almost immediately and made him feel valued on set. That encouragement meant everything to Freeman at a time when he was still questioning his career choice. What touched Freeman deeply was Klugman's decision to keep the collaboration alive. Impressed by Freeman's performance, Klugman pushed for the movie series to continue and made sure Freeman remained a part of it. This wasn't a small gesture, it was a deliberate act of support that gave Freeman both visibility and confidence in the early years of his career. Freeman pointed out that Klugman didn't have to do it, he chose to, simply because he believed in him. Klugman became more than just a co-star, he became a mentor figure. Someone who saw Freeman's potential long before the rest of Hollywood caught on. To this day, he counts Jack Klugman among the most important people in his early career. A true favorite, not only for his acting talent, but for his kindness and his commitment to lifting others up. Number 3, Paul Newman.
Paul Newman is casting, wants to see you.
Freeman shared that in the early 1980s, he was at the point of giving up on his acting career. He had been working for years in theater and small television parts, but the big break he had hoped for never seemed to come. By 1982, he was seriously considering giving up acting altogether and pursuing a completely different path of becoming a professional driver. The dream of making it in Hollywood felt too distant, and the struggle had worn him down. That was when Paul Newman entered his story. Newman, already a legendary actor with a reputation for spotting and encouraging talent, saw something in Freeman that many others had overlooked. Freeman shared that it was Newman who offered him an acting opportunity at exactly the time he was ready to walk away. Newman's belief in him wasn't just a small gesture, it reignited Freeman's confidence in himself and his place in the craft. Newman gave Freeman the chance to step into a project that would remind him of why he had pursued acting in the first place. To know that an actor of Paul Newman's stature respected his abilities meant that all the years of struggle had not been in vain. Newman's encouragement pulled Freeman back from the brink of quitting and showed him that his talent was not only real, but recognized. What Freeman admired about Newman was not only his skill as an actor, but his generosity as a human being. Newman had no obligation to reach out, but he did. He believed that nurturing others was as much a part of his legacy as his own film career. For Freeman, this was a turning point. Looking back, Freeman often credits Paul Newman with keeping him on the path of acting at a moment when he was ready to give up. Without that opportunity, Freeman might never have gone on to become one of the most respected and recognizable actors in the world. Newman's faith in him was not only life-changing, it was career-defining, a simple act of encouragement that altered the course of cinema history. Number 4. Clint Eastwood.
He doesn't tell actors what to do. He doesn't even direct actors. He directs the movie.
Freeman revealed that Eastwood is his favorite because he is someone who creates an environment where actors feel completely free to do their best work. In an industry often known for pressure and intensity, Eastwood stands apart by making his sets feel calm, focused, and comfortable. That, Freeman says, is one of the greatest gifts an actor can receive. Freeman explained that Eastwood has a unique directing style. He doesn't shout, he doesn't overwhelm the crew with endless takes, and he doesn't burden actors with unnecessary instructions. Instead, Eastwood trusts the people he hires. Freeman has said that this trust allows actors to relax, to stop worrying about perfection, and to simply focus on truth. When an actor feels comfortable, they can dig deeper and find the kind of authenticity that resonates with audiences. When the two worked together on Unforgiven in 1992, Freeman immediately recognized Eastwood's gift for leadership. Eastwood, both directing and starring in the film, balanced authority with ease. He set the tone on set, showing that discipline and comfort could exist side by side. For Freeman, it was a revelation. Here was a man who expected excellence but created it not through fear but through calm confidence. That experience stayed with Freeman long after filming ended. Their collaboration deepened years later with $1 Million Baby, a project that would go on to win the Academy Award for Best Picture. Freeman's performance in that film earned him an Oscar as well, but he credits Eastwood for making it possible.
Everybody who works with him wants to keep working with him.
The environment Eastwood fostered allowed Freeman to focus fully on his character, to feel safe in taking risks, and to deliver a performance that was both vulnerable and powerful. Freeman has often said that comfort is the soil in which great acting grows, and Clint Eastwood is a master gardener. Clint Eastwood remains one of his favorite collaborators precisely because of this rare quality. He loves Eastwood not just for his skill behind the camera or his iconic roles, but for his humanity, the way he respects his actors and trusts them to bring their best. Number 5. Jessica Tandy.
Coburn and Driving Miss Daisy. I did it both on the stage and on screen. And
Freeman and Tandy collaborated in the 1989 film Driving Miss Daisy. This film not only earned him worldwide recognition, but also gave him one of the most meaningful artistic partnerships of his life. Freeman shared that Tandy was not just a co-star. She was a teacher, a friend, and a shining example of grace in the craft of acting. At the time, Freeman was already respected in the theater world and had proven himself in films, but working alongside Jessica Tandy was something altogether different. She was an actress with decades of experience, celebrated for her work on stage and screen, and yet, despite her legendary status, she carried herself with humility and warmth. Freeman admired the way she approached each scene, not with ego, but with curiosity and openness. That inspired him. On the set of Driving Miss Daisy, their bond was immediate. The story itself required a deep connection between their characters, Miss Daisy and Hoke, but what audiences felt on screen was also rooted in the genuine respect and affection that grew between the two actors off camera. Freeman said that Jessica Tandy made it easy for him. She listened, she gave, and she created space for a real partnership. For him, that was the essence of great acting. Generosity. What even stood out more for Freeman Tandy's energy and commitment? Even later in her career, she still approached her work with the passion of someone just beginning. She reminded him that acting is not about age or fame, but about truth and discipline. Freeman loved that about her. He often recalled how every day on set was a masterclass, just by watching her prepare, speak, and interact with others. When Driving Miss Daisy went on to win the Academy Award for Best Picture and brought Freeman his first Oscar nomination, he felt proud not only for himself but for the shared journey with Jessica Tandy. Their chemistry carried the film, and their mutual trust gave it heart. To this day, he counts her as one of the greatest partners he ever had in his career. Number 6. Denzel Washington.
Denzel and I were in a Joseph Papp production.
Morgan revealed that Washington is more than just a colleague of his. He is a brother who he met for the first time in 1979, when Washington was just starting out his acting career. Even then, Freeman could see the fire in his eyes, a kind of relentless drive and focus that set him apart from so many young actors of that time. Freeman said that from that first time he met Washington, it was clear that Denzel wasn't just pursuing acting as a career choice, he was embracing it as a calling. What impressed Freeman most about Washington was the seriousness with which he approached the work. Every role Denzel took on, no matter how big or small, was treated with total commitment. He would immerse himself fully, study the character's every detail, and deliver with an intensity that left a lasting impression. Freeman said that Washington's passion for storytelling was contagious. Being around him inspired others to push themselves harder. Their paths crossed many times in Hollywood, and Freeman always noted how Denzel carried himself with both dignity and purpose. He wasn't in the business for glamour or shortcuts, he was in it for the art. Washington's performances, from Glory to Malcolm X and beyond, were not just roles played, they were lived experiences. Freeman admired that level of dedication because it reminded him of why he fell in love with acting in the first place. Freeman also loved how Washington's passion extended beyond his own success. He encouraged younger actors, gave advice, and pushed for better representation and stronger roles for African Americans in Hollywood. Over the years, Freeman came to see Denzel Washington not only as a fellow artist, but as a kindred spirit. They shared the belief that acting was not just about entertainment, it was about truth, humanity, and leaving behind work that mattered. Washington's passion, discipline, and courage made him, in Freeman's eyes, one of the greatest actors of their generation. Number 7. Victor Mature.
Victor Mature had this habit of, if he was going to show any kind of emotion, he'd just pop his scalp back,
Freeman revealed that he loved watching Mature's movies, not just for the stories, but to study the way Mature used his face to communicate. According to Freeman, Victor Mature stood out when it came to facial expressions. Freeman noticed that Mature had an extraordinary gift for facial expressions. He didn't need a lot of words to convey emotion. His eyes, his gestures, even the slightest shift in his features told the story. Watching him perform was like attending a silent masterclass in screen acting. Freeman shared how he would sit with Mature's films and analyze them closely. He studied how Mature expressed anger without shouting, how he conveyed sadness without breaking down, and how he portrayed joy with nothing more than a smile or a twinkle in his eye. This precision, Freeman explained, was what made Mature one of the best. In reflecting on Mature's influence, Freeman emphasized how these lessons shaped his own performances. Whether he was playing a chauffeur in Driving Miss Daisy, a wise mentor in $1 Million Baby, or even the voice of God in Bruce Almighty, Freeman carried with him that same belief. The face can say as much, if not more, than the dialogue. And in many ways, he credited Victor Mature for teaching him that. What Freeman loved most about Mature was that he never seemed to be acting. His facial expressions didn't feel forced or staged. They felt lived in, natural, and real. That quality made his characters believable, and it left a deep impression on Freeman as he was developing his own craft. Number 8. Jim Carrey.
That goes to make what, for lack of a better word, we could call perfection.
When Morgan Freeman recalls working with Jim Carrey, the first word that always comes to mind is comic. Carrey isn't just a funny actor. He is someone whose comedic talent has the power to light up an entire set. Freeman said that watching Carrey perform was like witnessing an artist at work because his comedy wasn't random. It was sharp, instinctive, and deeply creative. Freeman first experienced Carrey's brilliance up close while filming Bruce Almighty. As God to Carrey's character, Bruce, Freeman played the calm, steady center of the story, but around him, Carrey brought an energy that transformed every scene. Freeman admired how Carrey could take a line, a gesture, or even a small moment and turn it into something uproariously funny. He wasn't just telling jokes, he was embodying comedy, stretching his face, his voice, and his entire body into tools of expression. Beneath the outrageous antics and rubber-faced expressions was a thoughtful performer who understood the rhythm of a scene and the importance of character. Carrey wasn't funny just for the sake of being funny. His humor always served the story. Freeman admired that balance because it elevated Carrey from being just a comedian to being a true actor with range. Working with Jim Carrey left Freeman with enormous respect for him. He loved the laughter Carrey brought, not only on screen but behind the scenes as well. Number 9. Julia Roberts. Morgan Freeman has worked with some of the most iconic figures in Hollywood, yet even he admits that meeting Julia Roberts left him completely starstruck. Though he is admired worldwide for his calm presence and dignified demeanor, Freeman has said that when it came to Roberts, he found himself almost at a loss for words. The reason was simple. He had been a huge fan of her acting long before their paths ever crossed. Freeman often describes Roberts as one of those rare performers who can light up the screen with both charm and authenticity. He loved watching her performances, from Pretty Woman to Erin Brockovich, noting how she could bring both vulnerability and strength to her characters. Roberts embodied the best of what acting should be: natural, compelling, and endlessly engaging. She wasn't just a movie star, she was an artist, and Freeman had admired her work for years. So, when the opportunity finally came to meet her, Freeman recalled feeling almost like a fan himself rather than a fellow actor. He admitted that he rarely gets nervous around colleagues, but Roberts' presence had a different effect on him. Freeman said that Julia Roberts represents a kind of magic that never fades. Even after their meeting, he continued to reflect on how rare it is to encounter someone who not only meets expectations, but exceeds them. As a lifelong fan of her acting, Freeman counts meeting Julia Roberts as one of the most unforgettable moments of his career. Number 10. Ashley Judd. Freeman and Judd shared memorable screen time in films like Kiss the Girls and High Crimes, and Freeman has often said that Judd is one of his favorite co-stars. According to him, working with her was not just about the quality of her acting, but about the kind of energy and professionalism she brought to every project. Freeman admired how Judd carried herself on set. She was prepared, thoughtful, and dedicated to her roles, but she also had a generosity that made collaboration easy. Freeman has explained that acting is most powerful when it feels like a partnership, when two performers can trust each other completely to build something authentic. With Judd, he always felt that trust. She was present in every moment, listening deeply and giving everything she had to the performance. Freeman admired how she could play fragility without ever appearing weak, and how she could project courage without ever losing her humanity. It was, in his view, the mark of a true actress. Their collaboration created a bond that Freeman has often spoken about with fondness. He considered Judd not just a colleague, but a friend, someone whose work he admired and whose spirit he respected. Freeman credited her for helping elevate the films they did together because her performances brought emotional depth that made the stories resonate more strongly. For Freeman, Ashley Judd remains a shining example of what it means to be an actor, and she is one of his favorites for that. Let's know your thoughts in the comments section. Subscribe to this channel for more videos like this, like and share.